If creatures from an alien civilization are here on Earth, what do they look like? How did they get here? These questions are now being answered by two distinct groups. First, the artists and writers who create the pop culture version of our cosmic cousins, and the people who believe that they have actual first-hand knowledge, the eyewitnesses and abductees. Well, strangely, both groups have similar visions. So who's influencing whom?
The thing you'll never forget when you look into the face of these things is the eyes.
Very large, intimidating black eyes.
Very small opening for a mouth, no ears.
Tremendous head, very thin body, long arms.
They're called Greys. Abductees insist these are the real aliens and that they're a far cry from what Hollywood depicts. And for the most part, they're right. The creatures created by generations of sci-fi writers and illustrators are far more fantastic than the slender, featureless humanoids reported by abductees. But it is this dark-eyed face that has come to dominate the public's conception of what a real extraterrestrial looks like.
The more people know about what aliens are expected to look like, the more they're likely to describe an alien as looking like that preconceived idea. It's a self-feeding kind of a thing. In 10 years, there won't be any kind of alien except a gray.
Are supposed eyewitnesses seeing the true face of aliens? Or is their vision influenced by popular culture?
I think it's both. I think it's definitely both. And that we just have to trust our hearts and kind of sift through all this and find out who's telling the truth and who isn't.
The rise of this alien archetype coincides with the increasing number of supposed abductees. But is there evidence that depictions of Greys predate the abduction phenomenon?
The Greys, I think, are not a modern idea.
Science fiction illustrator and historian Ron Miller has traced the depiction of Greys in popular culture. He's unearthed suggestive artwork from the 19th century.
It comes from fairy tales, science fiction, film, a lot of sources. They go back decades, even a century or more. And the earliest sort of realistic depictions of an alien I have from a book that was published in 1884, which shows the mummified body of a Martian. And in fact, it bears a startling resemblance to the modern picture of an alien.
With a lot of imagination, science fiction reached a creative peak in the 1950s, when an atmosphere of anything goes produced hundreds of outlandish movies that seemed laughable. But that all changed in 1964, when a New Hampshire couple, Betty and Barney Hill, were the first to claim publicly that they had been abducted by aliens.
This is a composite of what they look like. Larger eyes, smaller nose, no lips, no protruding part of the ear, no hair, and a gray tone to the skin.
Ufologists embrace the Hill case as a significant turning point, but author James Oberg believes it was TV, not a real ET, that influenced the Hills.
A lot of Betty's memories are directly traceable back to a movie called Invaders from Mars. Many of the themes, many of the imageries from that film appear in almost recognizable form in Betty's story. In the account, there was kidnapping, being taken on board a flying saucer. There were needles being inserted into people's brains or other parts of their bodies.
Barney Hill's recollections of the abduction differed from Betty's in one significant detail. Barney claimed the aliens had huge eyes, the same kind of eyes depicted in this episode of The Outer Limits.
The unique feature here is these wraparound eyes, the eyeballs that move off to this forehead, off to the side of the head. It was very original, and yet less than 2 weeks after this face first appeared on television, Barney Hill, under hypnosis, suddenly remembered that his aliens had eyes like that. Had eyes that wrapped around. Was it cause and effect? Did he see the show? Was
Beings are able to control how we perceive them and perceive the experience that we're sharing with them, that they're very much able to manipulate it.
Artist Steve Neal also believes that he's been abducted and that his art is drawn from first-hand experience.
It's difficult to say why.
The Greys into mass acceptance can be summed up in 2 words: Steven Spielberg. His landmark 1977 blockbuster, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, has been seen by more than 100 million Americans.
Oh, Close Encounters, for good or evil, had an enormous effect on what people expected aliens to look like. And if anything really up, all these loose threads. And the descriptions he based them on, that Hynek provided him with, were of course based on, once again, a long tradition of ideas and images. We would still be having maybe more variety in aliens now if it hadn't been for that movie.
Joe Alves was the production designer for Close Encounters. His original drawings were based on the early abductee accounts collected by Professor J. Allen Hynek.
I think what was unique about Close Encounters is it was science fiction, and yet in a sense it wasn't, because we weren't manufacturing something that was convenient. We took these things from all the encounters that we could record and sort of put it into the funnel, and it came out with these kind of images.
An alien that does not look like a human being is quite likely to scare the bejesus out of us. There has been a very definite evolution from the bug-eyed monster of the 30s. Gradually, you came into less monstrous-looking aliens, but still aliens. And I think the biggest shock was around the late 50s when we began to get these reports of direct alien contacts.
Kelly Freas, known as the Dean of Science Fiction Illustrators, is disturbed by today's dominance of the Greys. In a career spanning more than 5 decades, Freas has created a rich palette of creatures he believes may be out there somewhere.
I hate to think that the universe is so dull that that's the best it can come up with. Are we supposed to assume that only one race managed to accomplish space flight and come to the Earth? Or are there more races out there? If so, what do the other races look like?
Admittedly, there are similarities between abductee accounts and old television shows. But considering the vast number of creatures created in this century, perhaps the similarities are coincidence, not deliberate deception. Science fiction tries to create believable characters, and abductees believe that in a few instances, they've gotten it right. Abductees believe that they have seen the face of an alien civilization, and this is it. But Dr. Alvin Lawson, who has studied the abduction phenomenon for more than 10 years, suggests another possibility. Perhaps abductees are actually remembering their own birth experiences. With a surgical mask covering the nose and the mouth and bright operating room lights behind, could a human face look like this to a newborn?